heard hundreds of sounds in my life: hammers pounding steel beams, iron snapping, concrete breaking under weight. But that morning at the Cleveland site, amid the drills rattling through bone, I heard something different. A small sound, weak, like a soul trapped beneath the ground. I didn't believe my ears. I signaled for everything to stop. The machines went silent, leaving only a heavy stillness. I pressed my face to the slab of stone, and then I heard it again. A shaky breath. Short, broken. A puppy. Not just any puppy. A Doberman, barely a month old. That tiny body had been beaten, bruised, and buried alive under a slab weighing tons, left to die. My throat closed up. In 58 years of life, I had never seen cruelty like this. My heart clenched as I realized, if I'd been a minute later, that little life would have been lost forever. "Oh, God," I whispered, my hand trembling against the dusty earth. "Please, don't let her go this way." I shouted, "Shut everything down." Now. The crew stared at me like I'd gone mad. On a site like this, every minute of delay costs thousands of dollars. But I didn't care. I knew there was a fragile heartbeat buried below. I grabbed a piece of plastic pipe, pressed it to the crack like a stethoscope. The sound came faint, so faint I had to hold my breath to hear it. A rasp. Tiny claws scraping stone. I closed my eyes, pressed my ear tighter. Yes, she was still fighting. I lifted my head, my voice sharp with resolve. "There's a puppy under this slab. We're going to save her." Right now, no one answered. But silence carried more weight than words, because then they heard it too. That frail breath that belonged to no steel or concrete. We dropped to our knees, digging with bare hands. The soil was hard, dust mixing with sweat running down our faces. Each handful of earth I clawed away felt like one more second given back to her life. Then I saw it. A dark red stain spreading through the dirt. Blood. My body went cold. She hadn't just been buried alive. She had been beaten so badly her body bled and bones shattered. I clenched my fist, whispering, "Hold on, little one. I'm here now. Don't give up." Each whimper rose through the earth like a knife twisting in my chest. It wasn't panic. It sounded like apology, as if she thought she was nothing but a burden to this world. I had worked sites my whole life, grown used to men shouting, used to accidents and loss. But that trembling breath beneath the slab, it was different. It made me ashamed of mankind, ashamed of whoever had thrown her into that pit and lowered stone on top without a thought. I pressed my forehead to the dusty ground, murmuring a prayer between ragged breaths. "Give me more time. Just a little more. I will bring her out, no matter what it takes." Around me, the other men, hard, rough workers, fell quiet on their knees. They no longer saw a slab of stone or a half-finished project. They saw only one thing: a fragile life begging not to be forgotten. And from that moment, the Cleveland site was no longer a place for steel and concrete. It became a battlefield, where 5, 6 grown men clawed at dirt and stone like desperate children, trying to give one broken Doberman puppy back her breath. I dropped to my knees, my palms scraping against dust and hard gravel. The tips of my fingers burned raw, but I didn't care. We had to dig with our hands. No heavy tools could touch that slab. One wrong move and the tiny pocket of air where the puppy was breathing would collapse. "Hands only. No shovels, no machines," I barked. The men looked at me, then nodded. Hands that had long swung hammers and drills now fumbled like children digging in sand. But it was that clumsiness that made it safe. Every handful of dirt we pulled away felt measured in the puppy's breaths. I pressed the plastic pipe back to the crack. Her breathing was still there, but harsher now, ragged, urgent, as if she was fighting for every shred of air. I could hear the scrape of tiny claws, faint and desperate. "Don't give up, little one. I hear you," I whispered, my voice shaking. A coworker, Manny, glanced at me. "You sure you're not imagining this, Ray?" I locked eyes with him, my tone heavy. "You listen, then tell me." He bent down, ear to the pipe. A second later, he jerked back, face pale. The look he shot the crew said it all. None of us doubted anymore. A life was buried under that stone. We began digging in a curve around the slab to ease the pressure. Each scrape sent a tremor through the rock, and every vibration chilled my spine. I could picture it too clearly. One wrong shake, and the fragile hollow where she curled would fold in like a closing fist. Dust swirled thick, sticking to the sweat on our faces. My chest felt crushed under weight, but none of us stopped. Then I saw it, a bright streak of blood seeping through the dirt. My heart froze. Part of her tiny body was so torn she was bleeding out into the soil. I pressed my forehead to the ground, praying in desperation. "Give me strength. Don't let her leave this world in the dark." Moments later, I heard a faint crack above. The slab shifted, quivering. My heart seized. "Stop! Everyone stop!" I yelled. The men froze, sweat dripping. No one dared to breathe. I lowered the pipe again, holding my breath. A silence stretched so long I thought it was over. Then suddenly, a whimper, fragile as wind through a crack. I exhaled in relief, my eyes blurring. She was still alive. "She's still there! She's still there!" I shouted, clinging to that shred of hope. We moved again, slower now, careful as surgeons. Manny slid me a plank of wood to wedge beneath the slab for support. Luis found thin steel rods and drove them in as braces. We worked in silence. The site transformed into an operating room. No shouts, only strained breaths and the soft crumble of soil. I looked down at my hands, nails torn, blood pooling between fingers. I felt no pain, only a relentless drive to save her. Every time I stopped digging, I pressed my ear to listen. Sometimes the breathing faded, vanishing into silence. My heart would stop, terrified I had lost her. Then, faintly, claws scratched again. A signal. I'm still here. My throat tightened. I whispered softly into the pipe. "Trust me, little one. I'll bring you out of this darkness." Suddenly, a chunk of soil crumbled away, opening a hole no bigger than my palm. Light slipped in, catching two wide brown eyes, round with fear. I froze. My heart pounded. She was staring right at me. Through dust, through swollen lids bruised from beatings, I saw it. The unmistakable look of a soul begging to be saved. My voice broke as I whispered, "I see you now. Just a little longer." And in that moment I knew. I wasn't leaving until she was free. No matter how long it took, no matter if my hands tore to shreds, I would dig until my very last breath. I pressed the plastic pipe tight against the crack, ears straining to catch the sound. This time it was so faint I had to hold my breath to separate it from the shifting dirt. A trembling breath, broken, buried in the crumble of soil. Every inhale felt like a battle. I lifted my head, sweat soaking through my shirt. "The air down there is running out. If we don't open a passage, she'll suffocate." Manny gritted his teeth. "We don't have oxygen tanks." Luis rummaged through the truck, pulling out an old industrial fan and a length of soft tubing. "Not much, but it might work." Better than watching her fade away. We scrambled to tape it together, wrapping it tight. I guided the tube down into the gap, close to where her ear might be. "Turn it on," I said. The fan rumbled, shaking the ground. At first, I wasn't sure it made a difference. Then, from below, a sound broke through, a cough, rough and hoarse but real. My knees buckled, hands trembling. "She's alive!" "She's coughing." The men fell silent, letting out breaths they didn't know they were holding. I leaned close, whispering into the tube, "You hear me, little one? Breathe. You're not alone." We dug on, each handful of dirt weighed against her time. The slab groaned, trembling with each shift, and every vibration stopped my heart. The hollow beneath was fragile, like a fist of earth that could close without warning. Luis wiped his brow, gasping, "Ray, how much longer can she last?" I swallowed hard. "Not long. We have to reach her before that breath fades for good." Suddenly a puff of dust burst from the gap, then silence. I pressed my ear to the pipe. Nothing. Only the thunder of my own pulse. "Stop! Everyone stop!" I shouted. The crew froze, holding their breath. I pressed tighter, praying. Seconds dragged like a lifetime. My heart dropped into darkness. I saw her tiny body buried, disappearing forever. "No, it can't be," I whispered, voice breaking. Then, a faint scratch, a tiny claw tapping stone. I broke down, tears spilling, my voice shaking. "She's still here! Still alive!" Manny slammed a fist to the ground, exhaling hard. "Dear God, I thought we'd lost her." We changed tactics. I barked orders. "Luis, bring more wood braces. Manny, hold this anchor point. Don't let the slab shift." They moved without a word, steady as surgeons. No curses, no noise, just focus. I crawled closer, pulled the air tube into place, and aimed the stream straight into her pocket of space. The ragged breathing returned. Weak, but each gasp hit me like a blade to the chest. "You hear me?" "I'm right here. You're not abandoned," I said, forcing calm into my voice. But soon the fan shook violently, then stuttered. The airflow cut out. "No! Don't stop!" I yelled, pounding the side of it. Luis checked, face pale. "Battery's low." It could die any second. My hands trembled. I knew every breath she took now was borrowed. Our time was slipping away. I pressed my face to the ground again. The sound was faint, rasping, broken. She was losing. My voice cracked as I whispered, "Don't leave me yet, little one. Just a little longer." And then, through the darkness, a soft whimper rose, fragile as a breeze. It was enough to pull me back on my feet. I looked at the men, fire in my eyes. "No one stops. I don't care if we bleed, if our hands rip apart. We keep digging. Tonight, she comes out alive." Manny clenched his jaw, nodding hard. Luis slid another brace into place, and we dug again, like desperate men clinging to the last sliver of light. I crawled lower, chest pressed flat to the ground, my hand trembling as I reached deep into the narrow gap. Dirt clung to my skin, stinging raw. And then I touched something soft, cold, quivering. A tiny paw, caked with soil, nails splintered. I froze. "She's here," I whispered, heart hammering in my chest. That fragile paw didn't pull back. It only trembled, light as a leaf in the wind. I closed my grip gently, feeling the broken bones beneath the thin skin. My throat burned. "Dear God, her bones are shattered," I said softly, eyes fixed on the darkness. Manny leaned close, his voice sharp. "Can you pull her out?" I shook my head, breath ragged. "No. Her back legs are wedged tight under the stone. If I force her, I'll crush what's left." The air grew heavy. We all knew, one wrong move and she wouldn't survive. I bent closer, whispering into the gap. "Listen, little one. I can feel you now. I promise I'll get you out." Don't give up on me. The flashlight beam caught her eyes, wide, brown, swollen from dust and fear. They locked on mine, unblinking. In that moment, the world disappeared. Only those eyes and me. I saw the plea, the pain, and, strangely, trust. Even after beatings, even buried alive, this puppy still believed in the hand reaching for her. Tears blurred my vision. My voice shook. She's looking at me. She trusts me. And just as I trembled with that weight, a sharp crack split the air. The slab above us shuddered, dirt raining down in sheets. The men shouted, "Back!" "It's collapsing!" Manny yelled. I pressed myself tighter to the earth, my hand still clutching that tiny paw. I wouldn't let go, not ever. If the stone came down, I'd die with her. In that instant, I heard a muffled whimper below, small but enough to set my chest ablaze. I shouted, "Hold those braces! Don't let it fall!" Luis lunged forward, hammering another steel rod into place, sweat pouring off him. Manny strained against the anchor point, muscles taut. Every ounce of strength went into holding disaster at bay. I slid my hand deeper, and this time I felt her back. Fur missing in patches, skin bruised purple. My fingers found her heartbeat, faint, but alive. "She's breathing. I can feel her heart," I cried, my voice breaking. Manny gritted his teeth. "Ray, we have to lift this slab just a little more." I nodded, still holding her trembling body. "But slow. If it shakes, she'll be crushed." We moved together. Manny gave the signal. Luis turned the jack. The slab shifted an inch. I slipped my hand under, lifting her tiny chest. She whimpered, legs quivering. "I know it hurts, but stay with me, little one," I whispered, voice cracking. Her frail chest emerged, mottled with bruises, but her back legs remained trapped. I didn't dare yank. Instead, I stroked her side lightly, letting her know she wasn't alone. Her brown eyes stayed wide on mine, flickering with a fragile spark. She wheezed with every breath, but each gasp seemed to cling to me. I lowered my head, whispering like an oath, "If you haven't given up, then neither will I. No matter what it takes, I'll bring you out of this darkness." Metal screeched overhead. The slab trembled again, dirt pouring into my hair. I didn't flinch. My arms wrapped tighter around her fragile body, and with her faint heartbeat pulsing against my palm, I knew we had crossed a line. There was no turning back. Either we saved her, or we would both be buried. I held that tiny, filthy, trembling body tight in my arms and ran from the site. The men stepped aside, clearing the way. I leapt into Luis's old truck, clutching her to my chest as if she were my own last breath. "Drive! Closest clinic now!" I shouted, my voice raw. Luis slammed the gas. The streets of Cleveland flashed bright in the sun, gray buildings shrinking in the rear view. But inside me, everything blurred except the rasp of her broken breathing. I pressed a damp cloth to her muzzle. She whimpered, her tongue flicking weakly at the drops of water. My chest ached. "That's it, little one. You want to live. Don't let go." Manny twisted around from the passenger seat, panic in his eyes. "Ray, she's fading." Her chest. It's uneven. I bent low, ear against her fragile ribs. Her heartbeat was faint, like a drum heard from far away. I hissed through clenched teeth, "You're not leaving me. You hear? You survived the earth. You won't die on this road." Then the blare of horns. Ahead, a wall of cars, brake lights flaring red. Luis cursed, slamming his hand against the wheel. "Damn it! Traffic jam!" Blood rushed to my head. I pounded the window, yelling, "Please, let us through." There's a life in my hands. Faces turned, startled, some shifting their cars aside. but the road was still clogged. Each second her breath grew weaker. I squeezed her tiny paw, trembling in my hand, tears burning hot down my face. My voice cracked as I whispered, "You trusted me under the stone. Now trust me again. Just a few more minutes." Manny fumbled with his phone, dialing again and again. "Emergency! We need a clear path to Franklin Animal Clinic, right now." I looked down. Her small brown eyes fluttered half shut, lids trembling. Terrified, I shook her gently. "Don't sleep, baby. Look at me. Keep your eyes on me. You're not allowed to leave yet." She opened them, just a flicker, as if answering. My heart shattered in my chest. Luis swerved into the shoulder, barreling past rows of cars. Horns blared, curses flew, but I didn't care. My world was only the fragile body in my arms, every breath of hers stealing mine. "Faster!" I screamed. "Ray, I'm already risking everything," Luis shot back, gripping the wheel hard. A pothole jolted the truck, shaking her body in my arms. She whimpered, jerking in pain. I held her tighter, whispering, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Just hold on. I'll get you to safety. Just a little longer." Then the sign appeared. Green letters, Franklin Animal Emergency Clinic. Relief nearly dropped me to my knees. Luis screeched into the lot, tires smoking. I tore open the door, clutching her, and ran inside. "Emergency!" "Puppy, buried alive, broken legs, oxygen loss," I shouted, my voice breaking apart. Staff rushed over, lifting her onto a small stretcher, sliding an oxygen mask over her muzzle. A silver-haired woman, Dr. Harris, looked up, eyes steady. "We'll do everything we can. Take her to surgery now." I grabbed her hand, voice choked. "Please, please save her. She suffered enough." The surgical doors swung shut. I stood frozen, blood and dirt coating my hands. The smell of the site clung to my shirt, but all I saw were those small brown eyes, the eyes that trusted me. And now, all I had was trust in the hands behind that door. Manny gripped my shoulder. "Ray, you got her here." "You did your part." I shook my head, tears falling. "No, my part ends only when she walks out, breathing, alive." And so, in the bright hallway of a Cleveland clinic, I sank into a plastic chair, my trembling hands locked together. My heart beat in time with every beep echoing from the operating room. Each sound was a fragile promise, hanging between life and death. I sat in the cold, bright hallway, my hands locked together, trembling. Every second felt like my heart was being squeezed tighter. Behind that door, a tiny life was fighting for each fragile breath. Through the small window, I saw Dr. Harris and 2 nurses place her on the steel table. Her body was frail, her fur matted with dirt, blood soaking the bandages. Her back legs bent wrong, broken and twisted. I turned away, pain stabbing my chest. Dr. Harris signaled. "Oxygen mask now. Prepare light anesthesia." I pressed my forehead to the glass, whispering, "Little one, you're stronger than you think. Please, don't give up." The monitor beeped. Beep, beep, each faint rhythm like life dangling on a thread. The doctor's hands moved swiftly, clamping, stitching, pulling. A nurse cried out, "Her heart rate's dropping!" I jumped to my feet, lungs locked. Dr. Harris's voice cut sharp. "Increase oxygen! Prepare adrenaline! Beep! Beep!" Then silence. My world shattered. Her heartbeat was gone. The room erupted into motion. A syringe of adrenaline was injected. Dr. Harris pressed down hard on her tiny chest. I slammed my hand against the glass, shouting, "No! She can't stop here." My pulse roared in my ears. In my mind, I saw her brown eyes wide open beneath the slab, trusting me. I couldn't let that trust be betrayed. "Please," I whispered, vision blurred. "Come back." Then, a short beep. Another. The screen flickered. A heartbeat returned, weak but steady. I collapsed into the chair, tears flooding my face. Dr. Harris looked up, voice low but firm. "We haven't lost her. Keep going." The surgery dragged on. I watched every stitch, every careful move. They reset bones, placed braces on her shattered legs. Each time they pulled too hard, she whimpered, even under anesthesia. I bit down, fists clenched, aching to run in and hold her. Manny laid a hand on my shoulder, whispering, "Ray, she's fighting. Just like you fought to pull her from the stone." I nodded, my eyes locked on her fragile frame. Moments later, the monitor faltered again. Beep, beep. Then a long tone. My chest hollowed out. Dr. Harris barked, "Heart's weak again!" "Prep the paddles." I froze, ice running through me. Electrodes pressed to her chest. One jolt. Her body jerked. Nothing. A second jolt. My heart nearly stopped with hers. A third. Then the screen jumped. A rhythm returned. Relief swept through the room. I sank back down, face in my hands, sobbing. "Thank God," I whispered, shaking. Now came the sutures, the final braces. I saw her chest rise and fall, weak but there. Every breath was a miracle. "At last, Doctor." Harris pulled off her gloves, exhaling. "Stable for now. She'll be weak for days, but she's past the worst." I nearly crumpled, shoulders shaking as tears poured out. Pressing my forehead to the glass, I whispered, "She did it." She survived. A nurse cracked the door open, speaking softly. "Mr. Cole, the surgery went as well as we could hope, but she needs close watch. Tonight is still dangerous." I nodded, unable to speak. My throat locked. I whispered, just for myself, "I made a promise, and she kept hers." Now it's my turn. I sank back into the plastic chair, exhausted, but a light flickered inside me. From that moment on, I knew my life was bound to hers. A Doberman puppy, beaten, buried, but fierce enough to fight for every breath. And I swore, with all I had left in my 58 years, I would never let her suffer again. 3 days after the surgery, I walked into the recovery room with a heart split between hope and fear. The smell of antiseptic still clung heavy in the air. The monitor beeped steadily, like a distant drum, and there she was, lying on a small bed under a white blanket, her body tilted on her side, her hind legs wrapped in thick bandages, chest bound tight. But her brown eyes had opened. When I whispered, "Little one," her tail twitched, tapping the blanket like a knock from life itself. Her frail body trembled, but those eyes, the same ones that had looked at me through the crack in the earth, were clearer now, brighter. My throat closed as I dropped to my knees, my shaking hand resting on her head. "You came back to me." My voice cracked, breaking inside my chest. Dr. Harris stepped in, a soft smile on her face. "She's weak, but she made it past death's door. The bones are set, the lungs are open again. She'll walk, given time and love." I nodded, tears spilling. My hand stroked her patchy fur, the bruises still lingering. She tilted her tiny muzzle into my palm, pressing against my skin as if in silent thanks. Manny and Luis stood in the doorway, hard hats still dusty, eyes red. They bowed their heads quietly. Men who once shouted at each other over steel and concrete now stood silent, like children watching a miracle. A week later, Cleveland sunlight stretched gold over the grass behind the clinic. I guided her out carefully on a small leash. She limped, braces still fixed to her hind legs, but every step was a victory. Cheers rose as she wagged her tail, stumbled, fell, and pulled herself back up, determined to take a few more steps. I knelt, arms open. She tumbled into me, trembling but alive with joy. I held her tight, sobbing like a child. "You'll never face the dark again. From now on, you have a home." Luis brought a brand new red leash. Manny dug out a bag of treats. Rough men, more used to iron and dust, now circled around a tiny dog with tears shining in their eyes, laughing through it all. That night, I sat on my porch, her small body curled warm against my chest, breathing steady. My hand rested on her chest, feeling the heartbeat, the same one that had stopped and started again more times than I could count. I whispered, "I promise, you'll never be abandoned again. You'll grow in love, in light. You fought to live, and I'll fight to keep you with me." She stirred, opened her eyes, and pressed her muzzle to my wrist. I knew she understood. The day I signed the adoption papers, my hand shook so badly the pen slipped. But when it was done, peace filled my chest. She was no longer a nameless puppy buried alive. She was family. She was Vega, the name I gave her after the brightest star in the summer sky. When Vega first stumbled across the grass behind my house, tripping and rising again, her big ears flopping, I laughed through tears. I had seen hundreds of structures rise and collapse in my lifetime, but never had I witnessed anything as beautiful as that moment. A life reborn from ruin, stepping into the light. Now, every evening, Vega rests her head on my worn work boots, breathing calm, safe. And I realize she wasn't just saved. She saved me, too. A tired old man, hardened by decades on construction sites, convinced he had nothing left to believe in. Vega reminded me that even buried under the coldest earth, life finds its way, so long as someone listens, bends down, and reaches out a hand. I look up at the night sky and whisper, "Thank you, little one. Thank you for not giving up. And thank you for giving me a reason to believe in miracles." And I know, from that day forward, I never walked alone again. There are moments in life we never forget. For me, it was the moment I heard Vega's heartbeat return, fragile but alive, in that cold, bright room. A puppy beaten, buried, left for dead, rose again to run beneath the sun. But Vega wasn't just saved. She saved my heart, teaching me that compassion can light even the darkest corners of life. And what about you? Have you ever saved a dog? Or any small life? If so, please share your story in the comments. Each story is a seed of love, helping us spread hope, so no dog is ever left abandoned and alone again. And if you believe in small miracles the way I believe in Vega, I invite you to subscribe. Not just to hear more stories, but to join our family, a place where every life is heard, loved, and given a second chance. Because sometimes, one hand reaching out at the right moment can change an entire life.